So adversaries use many different techniques to infect victim malware, or infect victim computers with malware. The following attack profiles should not be considered static. Things are always changing. Like we said before, blended threats are evolving constantly. People are using anything they can to break into a system, and they're kind of taking the throw it at a wall and see what sticks approach. So remember that. Social engineering. So social engineering is basically using the human element of a computer system, the user, to trick someone into installing malicious code onto it. Now, strictly human engineering attacks like phishing are often less successful than the type of attack where you see someone drive by or go to a website and have a drive-by attack launched on them. But they're still very successful, and they're becoming more prevalent, especially good ones. Spear phishing is going way up. So people are still getting busted by this. One of the oldies but the goodies is the Melissa virus, which spread around just because it had an interesting header and people clicked on it. And that's all I'll say about that. Sometimes it's not even actually a cyber event. Social engineering can include attackers that want access to your systems dressing as utility company employees and walking into your data center and installing malware that they may not have been able to install remotely, just physically, just walking in with a thumb drive. Malware may be attached to an email as an attractive offering, like a fake security software or a screensaver, or fake medication, or any number of things, hair growth pills. There's a ton of things that it could be, and it's all designed to get you to click on that email and download something, probably. So a browser drive-by lures victims to attacker-controlled websites via an email link or links injected onto legitimate websites. Now that last one, links injected onto legitimate websites, is the way a lot of this happens. So let's say someone is visiting even a popular website. Let's say you're visiting CNN and you see an ad pop up in the corner that's provided by a third party. Now sometimes that third party will be compromised, and sometimes that web content being loaded onto CNN will be malicious. And once you see that third-party web content, you're being attacked, basically. And if you have unpatched vulnerabilities, or maybe if you have vulnerabilities you don't know about or no one knows about, you will be getting infected with some sort of malware. Remote exploitation. So these are probably the most pure form of attacks. They're not really supposed to require any user interaction. The idea is that you can scan a remote system if you know it's a location on a network, and then simply send a piece of code and gain access to that system. This is really difficult to do because remote exploits are extremely dangerous, and therefore people that are writing software that faces the network and network interfaces are really, really careful with how they engineer them to avoid these specific ones. It's been a long time since there was a 0-day remote exploit vulnerability for Windows, but these type of attacks do exist. Content-based attacks generally use email as the delivery vector, but rather than sending malware a link, they send some type of document. So what they'll do is they'll take a Word document or PDF document and fold some malware in there, and then once you download or access that document, maybe it's exploited via a Word setting with the way it uses macros, or maybe PDF has some sort of vulnerability in it. But one way or another, if you get a PDF from a spam sender and you click on it, you're probably infected with some malware, assuming it's a 0-day and assuming you aren't fully patched. Malware-based attacks. Malware may have been installed on a previous instance of malware on a system. Most types of malware code provide an attacker the ability to download and execute arbitrary files to extend functionality. So the idea here is that malware can persist, and malware it doesn't have to remain in constant contact with the person that's using it, or especially in the case of a rootkit, it doesn't have to remain with the original operating system that it wrote in with. if you have a rootkit malware artifact or something, it can actually persist through deletion of even the operating system on your computer. A good example of this is some really cool malware that was found in hard drive firmware that was located on, I believe, Samsung devices. But everything is vulnerable to this given an advanced enough attacker. Organizations deal with persistent actors, really. You don't really need an advanced actor, but the dangerous ones are often persistent actors due to the fact that their goals may cause them to avoid detection and to specifically take actions that cause them to avoid spooking you or stealing your PII, anything like that. If you get a call from your credit card company and you had someone buy $1,000 worth of watches, you're pretty sure you've been hacked. If nothing happens, you may not know it for a long time if they're just copying information and sitting on it. Resources may not be really constrained to a persistent actor. They may be funded by an outside source and simply gathering information. I mean, that's kind of the prototypical APT actor is a nation state engaging in espionage against another one. And kind of building off that, they don't need attacks to supply resources to themselves. They function as part of some larger unit or as part of some larger purpose. Hit and run actors, they can be advanced too, but their idea is that they are coming in and taking what they can, and if they get found, okay, too bad, they've got a lot of money now. Attacks are used to gain additional resources, maybe to launch more attacks, or maybe just to be done and then have a lot of money. Persistence is important only to the point where it allows an attacker to gain the resources. So if they get the credentials they're looking for, like a credit card information, or in the case of the Carabank attack, if they get the access to the SWIFT network that they're looking for, they can steal large to small amounts of money.